Welcome to this excellent review of Dragon Ball Super Chapter 48. And I have to say, I'm sometimes I like to think of the manga and when the anime was still airing as like a bell curve in terms of my position on it, where sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. It'll fluctuate from up or down, literally within a chapter or episode of each other. So, for example, I really liked 47. I'm not going to say it's my favorite chapter of the whole manga, but it's definitely like in the top five. It was just had some stuff that I've been waiting, for a while. But it got my hopes up that we could finally get some action out of Boo, and we could have a story that if it's going to revolve around Goku and Vegeta, we can at least get someone else in there as well. That as a character, we as a collective fan base, if you will, have a vested interest in to some extent as well. Well, in the chapter, the Grand Supreme Kai, the Lord of Lords, whatever term we use to describe him, who is described during Dragon Ball Z, the originator of Boo's appearance, because he absorbed his being into him and altered his design to look like him, which is why that was when we first saw. Anyways, he switches places with Boo after Moro disappears toward the end of the chapter. He's in like the last 3 pages, and you might say to yourself, okay, that's just gonna be one little thing. What's the big deal? The line where he says, "I will be switching or taking Boo's place from until we beat Moro," which you can use basic common clues to figure out he's likely referring to the rest of the arc, however long it is, means that's basically Toyotaro, the writer and artist, his way of saying, oh yeah, Boo's not going to be in this arc anymore. It was a nice little chapter long ride. And look, I hope that it's that maybe they cause something to happen where he switches back to him, but I'm not too optimistic. And if this is anything to go by, it's really dumb, because if you look at 47, I don't see a problem with just having it be Boo, but with the memories of the Lord of Lords / Grand Supreme Kai. I don't understand why they couldn't have just kept that character as a smaller entity in Boo, because Boo is the one that people want to see. He's a character that has had way more appearances than the Grand Supreme Kai. But whatever, look, people, I'm the only one who gets upset about that stuff, so it is what it is. The other issue I had with the chapter was the death of Cranberry, who gets killed after making the second wish for Moro. And I had one person try to say, oh well, it makes sense because he betrayed him. But again, they're saying this like the writer is not the one who controls the character. See, I like the idea whenever they have a villain story, or rather they have a new villain, like character we've never seen before, when they try to use the character with other characters. So what I mean by that is, you look at the Goku Black arc, they use Goku Black and Zamasu. They have these double battles, and that was something that we don't really see too often in the franchise when it relates to actual villains. Like Tournament of Power notwithstanding, because those are characters that are antagonistic but not actually evil, based on the story that was told at the time. So in this case, it's I liked the interactions between Moro and Cranberry, because you don't really see Moro interact with other characters by virtue of everybody being his enemy on like a level that is not entirely hostile. So a lot of exposition we could have gotten about Moro's character that it would only make sense for him to speak with Cranberry about is kind of now just destroyed. But it's another one of those things where I shouldn't be too surprised, because there are plenty of different villains and henchmen that get that throughout the franchise's history have been killed off very, very quickly, whether it's the Ginyu Force or Deborah or any of the other members of the Frieza squad. But you get my point, that there's a thing of just introducing someone just to have them get murdered a short time later. With this killing, however, it's a little bit more frustrating because he didn't have to do it. And like the whole point of making him wish for the second wish, was to give him his magic, whatever, was so he could say, when he made him do that wish. He said, "I will hunt you down to the to wherever you are if you don't do this." So you already made him fear you enough to keep operating as your henchman. Why do you need to then execute? But again, it's another thing where fans that like this stuff will say, "Oh, well, they're trying to do something unique or otherwise, you know, new." It's like, or do something that surprises you. It's like, yeah, but being surprising by itself isn't does not entail having a story that's actually well crafted or anything. Like, I'm gonna threaten you if you not to do if you don't do what I want, then I'm gonna kill you if you do what I want. So overall, it's I'd say this, if I gave it on a scale of 1 to 10, if I'm being really generous, I give it a 7, where I'd give the other one a 9. If I'm being kind of frustrated, I'd probably give it a 6, or maybe a 6.5, just to kind of meet myself midway. It has the art's great. Although there is a slight there's an error where because I got confused at first. I thought with the Lord of Lords that they would have him, like wear Boo's stuff because they're the same, skin tone or whatever. Just I thought that was what they intended on doing first, and then it turns out they gave him his regular outfit that we've seen him in the different flashbacks and Z wearing. And it turns out that there's the reason I thought this, because again, he's only in 3 pages of this chapter, but in one of the panels between him having his regular clothes, he's wearing Boo stuff. So that's, I think probably Toro just messed up. People make little mistakes, and that's nothing to nitpick over, and I'm not gonna, dwell on it too much. It's just that was the thing I noticed that, like, if I was to critique the art, that's pretty much just it. I like the backgrounds. I think I like seeing Purunga again as briefly as it was. It's this story. I'm glad, because when I read the summary, right, and I saw people talking about, oh, it's going to be over, it's going to be finished because Moro's not going to. It's like, no, they're going to do something to get him out of that predicament, and they did. But now I'm really kind of curious to see what exactly, like, basically the pacing of the arc, because when I was reading the Tournament of Power, for example, the manga version that everybody hates for good reason, you could tell it was really rushed. It was him just, Toyotaro was just like, I don't care about this story, whatever. And he really would have been better off just not even bothering telling that tale, because the pacing is just so horrendous. But that's a side note. In this, I'm feeling as though because the show isn't airing, he has more time to do stuff. But it still feels like at certain points, the pacing is kind of, it fluctuates basically. It's not really moving at a rate that is that I can kind of put my thumb on. And I'm really getting worried that they're gonna do with the future Trunks arc did, where there's like a part of it that doesn't feel like, oh, let's keep going back to the past to keep training, and then keep going back to the past to keep training, and come back and fight them again. Like, I want them to just, if they're gonna be stuck on this planet for the whole arc, stop having them get beaten up and then they go hide somewhere and heal for like an hour. Just like have it be the final brawl, or take it off planet, because you have this huge universe. You're obviously not going to bring Piccolo into this because the seal has passed, if you get what I'm saying. So I prefer that if this does end soon, they try to tell more about Moro's character and just give a finale that doesn't feel like it's ham-fisted, like it's not based around, like, oh, we couldn't damage him before, but now that I've got this new transformation, I can damage him now. Again, I hope that's not the case. So it was an okay chapter, not as good as 47, but not terrible. I just have those 2 issues with it, and I'm looking forward to 49.